Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Dust on the Throne. Today I'm joined by none other than Chris from SmokeScreen. And
I'm kidding. Sorry.
I loved that.
Sorry.
I loved it.
I've always wanted to do that. I don't know why. Sorry. Thank you.
Good.
Thanks for having me on Dust on the Throne.
And today on this episode, we're going to do a Season 7 recap.
Yes, a wrap up and maybe talk about some Season 8 stuff, right?
That's what I'd like to do.
Because, yeah, we got some theories.
Yes, we do. But we're going to take this thing from basically when it opened with Arya all the way to the wall coming down.
A lot of stuff happened in Season 7.
A whole lot.
And we were talking about doing a wrap up video, so yeah, let's start with that, I guess, or whatever you want to start with. Arya's dark path, I guess.
Yes, she is checking off names, and
a lot of hell names are not even on the list. She took out the whole damn house, so she's not a good guy. I mean, good guy as a character,
right?
So,
but what I'd like to also talk about are some of the other characters that we kind of called some things about. We did. On a certain series.
We did.
And I guess let's start with Sam and Gilly. If you would, tell me a little bit about your thoughts on how they played out this season.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of fell into what we thought. Sam's the information guy, and Bran's the guy who can check that information and make sure it's accurate. So we saw them with the big team up in Season 7. So... I mean, I think that went pretty much like we expected. He did cure Jorah.
Yes.
The connection with Jorah and Gior, his father, who was at the Night's Watch, obviously Lord Commander. But the big thing we called was Gilly.
Who else called that? Nobody.
She learned to read for a reason, and we said that in A Dragon Raised by Wolves,
yes.
and which is on my channel. And so we said, she's not just learning to read and just going to hang around to be a love interest. She's there for a reason, and she discovered this big...
The payoff everybody been wanting.
Yeah, the big payoff.
Yeah.
I mean, not just that Jon is the son of Rhaegar and Lyanna, but he's not a bastard. He is Aegon Targaryen, and Rhaegar had his marriage annulled with Elia Martell, and had a secret wedding with Lyanna.
And
so no snow.
Yeah. So Sam
Sam
thinks, hey man, I've got the answer to all this shit. Goes to Winterfell. He leaves the Citadel. Goes to Winterfell. Exactly. And he's like, Bran, is there any way you can go back and fact check this for me?
Exactly.
And Bran's like, zoom, 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 zoom.
Exactly. And then I like the way they did that scene with talking about Rhaegar and Lyanna, how they loved each other. Robert's Rebellion was built on a lie, but then they're showing the Jon and Dany current love situation. But Gilly should have got credit for that. I think in that scene, Sam should have been like, Gilly said something about a Prince Rhaegar.
I know.
And then acknowledged that she's the one who read that.
Because we left that scene thinking it went over his head. He missed it.
Exactly.
He was so aggravated and annoyed, he missed it.
Yeah, he would have definitely recognized the name, but he wouldn't associate it with Jon necessarily. But she still read that, and where was she at? I mean,
I know.
It's like he knew, and like they had talked about it on the way from the Citadel. Maybe
that's what I think had to happen.
Yeah, and they did cut some scenes. I don't think that was necessarily one of them. I know they did cut a few scenes out of Season 7, but I don't think that was one. But you would have thought, I guess you have to assume they had that conversation on the way. Oh, shit. You said Rhaegar earlier. You meant Rhaegar. And then when he got in the room with Bran, then they put it together as far as connected to Jon.
And so Sam basically went, this season from cleaning bedpans, chamber pots or whatever, to
the shit montage,
curing grayscale,
exactly, that nobody could hardly do,
to the biggest reveal. I mean, to discovering, we saw in the book, the whole Dragonstone thing, and let's send the Ravens out. I mean, he's been so pivotal in this whole season, how it unfolded,
the whole thing,
and he probably had 10 minutes screen time the whole season.
Yeah, maybe.
Right.
Maybe 6 minutes total.
It's nuts, man.
And,
how
he just got fed up with the work and the job and said, fuck this, I'm just going to go help in other ways. And he just grabbed a bunch of books. We don't know what's in those, if there's anything left about the Long Night, hopefully.
Right.
We'll get into that with Season 8 stuff. But Yeah, the big reveal was there, and Gilly should take credit for that.
Well, let's segue back into Jorah.
As soon as Riddick gets on the couch.
So yeah, let's segue right back into Jorah. He went in search of a cure.
He did.
Didn't we thought it was going to be Red Priest or something?
Yeah, I thought they would do a little tie-in with the books. A lot of us thought Quaithe, because he did have that conversation with Quaithe, and she was doing the protection tattoo for Valyria, which foreshadowed him getting grayscale in the first place. So it would have been a pretty good little thing for him to find Quaithe again back in Karth.
It would have been.
And get a cure from her, because she warned him about going to Valyria that you need protection. And now she's not necessarily a Red Priest. She is described as a shadow binder in the books, but not a Red Priestess like Melisandre. But in the books, we had this character named Makoro who heals Victarion, which is Euron's brother. That's not in the show. And it's not grayscale, but he's got a screwed up hand, and he heals it by fire, and it's like blackened and shit, but it's like stronger than ever.
Okay.
And I thought that would be a good tie-in if he got healed in some fashion by a Red Priest somewhere.
It would have been. I could see that.
I think it would have worked better than Sam reading a book that looked like a fairly simple procedure.
It did,
but then it was like, it was so dangerous and people died. The guy that wrote the book died from grayscale.
We were making jokes about what the cure was.
Exactly. It ended up being Neosporin.
Yeah.
Not even dragon glass being ingested, which was in the book that everybody saw in that little scene.
I know, man.
So,
but he's back in the fold now. He goes
is.
back, rejoins Dany. Dany actually had a little twinkle in her eye when they met. And then he sees Jon.
Of course, he meets when she's out there with Jon alone on a cliff.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, of course, that's the time he walks up.
And eventually, like we were wondering about the sword, and that did happen in the next episode. They had that discussion. Is that kind of the way you would have thought it would have played out?
Yeah, I think that's what we said.
I think
down
so
to
too.
The wire, actually.
Yeah, he's going to offer.
That he was going to offer.
I know.
And then he's going to say, "No, I don't deserve it. You did this. You keep it." So it went down exactly. But I did enjoy that scene. That was the episode I had the biggest problem with, Beyond the Wall, episode 6, I believe, right? So, but that scene was really great. The banter between the different characters was great. And that scene between Jorah and Jon, not only did it give us the Longclaw discussion, it gave us the "May it serve you and your children well" discussion.
That's right.
Which we'll get into again in season 8 stuff.
I also want to touch on real quick the Theon arc and what's happened with him. You know, this season he keeps he's still where he can flip back and forth, but right at the end there, I think he's back full Theon.
I agree. I think he's finished with the arc. I mean, you know, a lot of people were like, "No reek," you know, when the whole Euron attack happened.
Yeah, dude.
But I think he had a little reek moment. He was looking down, and you saw the tears in his eyes. You saw people's tongues getting cut out, like in the books when Euron has that done to his whole crew, because he wants silence. Hence the name of his ship. But I mean, he did have a reek moment, but he did make the right decision. We said that before in the live stream after the episode. He made the right decision, because if he would have went forward,
he would have died. She would have died.
He would have cut her throat right then, and so it was like, okay, live to fight another day type of thing. But then I really loved the discussion with Jon on Dragonstone episode 7. It almost took Jon to forgive him for all that stuff that he could forgive him for.
I think it's exactly
for
what
betraying
it took.
Ned and all that, and he went down on the beach and said, "We're going to get Jorah." He took an ass whooping.
A bad one.
But he didn't back down. There wasn't no reek moment. He didn't cover up. He took it, got up, finished the job, and now they're off to get rescued.
And one thing I wanted to bring up is, you know, with me reading and everything, what happened on that beach reminded me of Tyrion and Jon talking about the bastard thing. When Tyrion says, "Use your weakness." You know what I mean?
Yeah, wear it like armor.
Wear it like armor, and then nobody could ever use it against you.
Exactly.
And he found his weakness at the right moment and used it. And I just thought that was a cool little thing, man. That's what it reminded me of when I saw that moment where he got Need down there, where usually that drops me in.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that was kind of cool in a way. It was kind of quirky, I guess.
It is quirky. I agree.
It was quirky, but it was kind of cool for him to actually, like you said, it ties in perfectly with that. There's a weakness there, but all of a sudden it becomes an advantage in that situation, at least. So it was kind of quirky, but it was kind of cool that he looked up and smiled, and you saw that Theon for a second.
Right.
That Theon smart-ass smile that you saw in season 1.
And talking to him, and I'm going to try to segue this as good as I can, into Euron. You said you loved Euron this season way better than last
way
season.
better than the Kingsmoot Euron from the show. This was a lot closer to book Euron. Not quite. I mean, I would say he's kind of a combination of characters in the show for Euron and Victarion is the way I'm seeing him in the show. But yeah, I'm really digging this Euron this year. I mean, he did say, and we were talking about this on the podcast, that he was going to make Ramsay look like a puppy dog. I don't know if he quite went that far.
I don't think so either.
But I really loved like the attitude and the cockiness, and he's fucking insane. He loves to watch people die. You saw the smile on his face during the ship battle. So he's really that psychotic Euron. You're not seeing as much of the sorcerer side in the books and stuff. He's kind of a sorcerer and all that, but I really love the character.
And he thoroughly enjoys rubbing salt in people's wounds.
Absolutely. Calling Jamie out right there in front of him. Yes.
Yeah, he will jab you.
Exactly.
And I would also like to touch on your favorite character.
Do I have a favorite character?
Sansa. Now.
Yes.
She, I think she's redeemed herself in everybody's eyes.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm totally
on the
Team
show
Sansa.
And in the audience. I really think.
I agree. But the thing is, I do want to acknowledge, though, I want everybody to acknowledge, and we don't do this very often with the I told you so's, but, we had been saying, or my whole thing with Sansa, and everybody knows, I've talked about it on my channel, we talked about it on the podcast, It was a big thing, so we had a big argument about it, is the whole thing where she was, still craving this power thing, and everybody's like, no, she's been through a lot, she didn't know what to do, she was a kid, and I agree with all that. I never said that she didn't go through a lot of shit.
No, you never did. You always would throw that out there.
But it was just when you had Arya come back to Winterfell and say, you're thinking it. You don't want to be thinking it, but you're thinking it. You're hoping Jon doesn't come back, and what would you do? Now you get to be queen in the north,
yes,
Lady of Winterfell, whatever. When the character in the show says that to her, you can't argue it anymore. I'm sorry. But with that said, she absolutely did turn the corner. She used Littlefinger and played him at the end of the episode 7, and I really dug it, how she set it up for Arya to be called in, and Arya wouldn't be taken anywhere by anybody unless she wanted to go. So that right there told me immediately this is about to happen.
Yes.
But the thing is, they did cut out, I will say this, if people don't know, they did cut out a scene where Sansa goes to Bran and confirms all this shit.
Are you kidding me?
So they cut that out.
See, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so they cut a scene out where Bran was actually telling her some of these things, and now they put a little bit of it in there in the hall where he says, you held a knife to his throat.
Yeah.
I did tell you not to trust me. So you got enough of that to understand that she did get that from Bran, but they actually cut out a scene of them doing that.
One cool thing I thought about that scene, and it broke my heart because I actually predicted at Con of Thrones on that interview with Kyle that Littlefinger would survive this season. Yes. I said, mark my words. And every season I was checking it off. Every episode I was checking it off.
Right.
And I was saying, he's going to make it, he's going to make it. And I thought he was going to make it. But the coolest thing about it for me was he was pulled from the shadows, from the wall where he always lurks.
Yes.
In those meetings, he's been in so many of those meetings where he's over in the corner.
He's in the corner.
He's just
creeping.
leaning.
He's always creeping.
And that's where he got pulled from.
Exactly. And he shit his pants.
Yes, he did.
When she turned his head and said Lord Baelish, she was like, he did the double, triple blink.
Yes, he did.
The double, triple blink. Not just 2 blinks, not 3. I'm talking about the double, triple.
The double, triple.
Like the triple dog dare. And blinked and was like, What? I'm confused. Sorry, what?
He was still playing it off because he's smart enough to know as soon as his name was called.
Oh, yeah.
He knew.
He knew he was fucked. And he was like looking around with all the Stark men, Mm-hmm. But it was a little odd, I will say, for the Starks, though, because, no trial. The honorable Starks. But you do have Bran, who I guess you really don't need a trial.
That's a good point.
But he didn't defend himself. He didn't get a chance to.
No. But
then again, he did admit to the murder. He did admit to the murder of Lysa. So
that's right.
It's like, oops.
That's right.
And I will say I'm a little disappointed, we were talking about on the podcast as well, with this Littlefinger this season, because all he did really was go to Winterfell, hang around. He did try to play. I really thought that last little move was genius, so I was like, maybe he will, like you were saying, slither his way to season 8. But... because that was a brilliant move to plant that with Arya, make her turn against Sansa and find the right scroll.
Yes, it was.
Because she didn't know the context of that scroll. So that was a really good move. But other than that, Littlefinger and Varys, for that matter, this year, did disappoint me a bit. I mean,
Varys definitely disappointed
Varys
me.
didn't use his, I thought once he got back to Westeros, he would use his spies. He would realize that he was still in control of the little birds.
I know, and I was dying to see that payoff.
And I guess he was because he did help set things up, but you just really didn't see enough from him or Littlefinger this year other than just kind of hanging around. So
that's exactly right. And speaking of Varys, that reminds me of this season pretty much ended up boiling down to two teams versus each other.
It did.
Dany's team versus the Lannisters, pretty much. All right, it ended with the White Walkers and everything,
right?
But when you got to see the Dothraki horde and
right,
the Unsullied, take Casterly Rock. I mean, been waiting to see that forever,
right?
And it finally unfolded. And
let me say really quick, Casterly Rock, I got a bitch about it. It was horrible. It looked horrible for Casterly Rock, man. Come on.
The whole time you think, man, that's going to be the lap of luxury.
It's got to, yeah. And carved out of the mountain itself, but it wasn't even the right color to me. It was like,
I agree.
It was weird. It was like this off-white shitty, and they just hung some shitty tiny little flags on the wall. Not even any statues.
Right.
It's like they've been selling this shit all for gold since their gold mines are closed.
It was so fitting that Tyrion had a whore tunnel.
Yes, absolutely. And we if going through this foreshadowing series, now that I think about it, and when I get to that episode in season 4 with Blackwater Bay, it's like, the little entrance to King's Landing he knew about kind of told you about the secret entrance at Casterly Rock later.
That's right.
Of course, you wouldn't know that for 3 or 4 more
That's
seasons.
That's exactly right, man. But for me, that battle, it was second only to the Battle of the Bastards for me. Seeing that, and then seeing the dragon come over the horizon, that was unbelievable.
I still Field of Fire 2.0.
I still am partial to Battle of the Bastards, but yeah.
Yeah, it was, and they tried to, from my understanding from looking at the behind-the-scenes stuff, they tried to use that same feeling. They followed Bronn a little bit for Battle of the Bastards, but no, that was one of those moments that you've been waiting for. I mean, you saw a little glimpse of it in season 6 with, Dragon Bay now instead of Slaver's Bay.
Right.
With the ship, where, she flew on it and fucked the slavers up, which is awesome. But this is one of those the hair standing up on your arm moments. When you hear this horde, now they're all this, 100,000 strong, all the badass, how they're shooting off their horses, archery, Japanese style, and then to see Drogon flying up, it's like, oh shit. And Jaime's look said it all, and Bronn's like, is that real?
And
should we go this way?
To see the damage that Drogon does to humans. We've seen the ships, like you said, but turn them to ash instantly.
Turn them to ash.
That blows away in the wind.
Literally just, exactly.
Holy crap. So that gave Jaime what he needed to see. That's all he needed to see.
Needed to see. That and the Dothraki, and he even told Cersei it was like sport to them.
It was.
I mean, we saw a few Dothraki die, obviously, from arrows and some close up when they jumped in the crowds, but yeah, they're soldiers are like armored soldiers. Westerosi armored soldiers are shit to them.
They are. They have no chance.
Yeah.
You take the dragons out of the equation.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, because it's like, because Westerosi armies have the cavalry on horses, but they have archers and all these, infantrymen and all that stuff, where Dothraki, every single one of them has a horse. And they just plowed through them. I mean, it was like a hot knife through butter.
And so we see Bronn. He shows that he's not only about money.
He does.
And he saves Jaime. And then after that, we get to see how Dany dealt with the survivors. What did you think about that, the Tarleys?
I thought, a lot of people said, here comes the Mad Queen stuff. But I didn't see that. I mean, they want you to think that. They want you to know that she does have those impulses. Fire and blood. It's in their blood. It's literally their house words. But she gave them a fair choice, I think, in the sense of war.
I agree.
As fair as you can be in war. Bend the knee or die. Now, I do agree with Tyrion that, let the son sit in a cell and think about it at least. At least the son. Because you're eradicating a house, essentially.
You are.
So, I mean, yes. But that's there. So, you see those impulses, and Tyrion's there to check those impulses. But it shows you sometimes she's going to set an example and not listen to Tyrion. So, I thought it was fine. I didn't think it was Mad Queen. It was just them wanting you to think, okay, she's going to be Ares the Third or whatever. So
my thoughts on that are, I believe she was kind of leaning that way, Chris. I really do. And it took Jon to show her the big picture and make her heart pity pat a little bit.
Oh, yeah. When Jon kind of reinforced Tyrion's point at Dragonstone when he was there and she asked, what should I do?
Yes.
And before she went off and did this, though, remember, this was the talk was before the Field of Fire. And then when she came back, he was like, you haven't been gone long. And she's like, I have fewer enemies today than I did yesterday.
Yes.
But at the same time, it didn't, when he said, if you just go burn cities to the ground, you'll just be more of the same. I think that was basically saying, look, we know you can take King's Landing in 15 minutes, but you can't do it. It's not the right way. So that made her make the choice of, okay, you're right. I can't burn cities to the ground. I can't be the queen of the ashes, so to speak.
Right.
But I can set an example to somebody. You have to instill a little bit of fear. There's a balance there.
There is a balance, but I believe in her heart she doesn't want to rule by fear.
No, I agree.
I agree. And I think the key people who are left, leave Cersei out of this,
right?
All agree with that philosophy. They're buying into the Dany way, I think. And
I think so.
I think
I think they will come to the people she's met so far has, and really got to know
right.
her. But yeah, like the Northern Lords, they're going to be a little bit different.
I can't wait to see that.
A little more stubborn, but once they realize who she is and she's not her father, and especially that Jon, this guy who they elected king in the North, is a Targaryen. Because Jon Roy said Targaryens can't be trusted to his face.
He did.
Now what you going to say, Jon? I mean, because you trusted him as king in the North and everybody else too. He's like beloved like Ned Stark, the White Wolf. But he's not. He's a dragon raised by wolves.
And so you go back to Jaime for a second. He witnesses this, goes and talks to Cersei.
Yeah.
Cersei pulls a wild card and says she's pregnant.
Right.
And because there's a couple scenes this season where you think he's on the verge. He's finally going to do it.
Yes, I mean, so many. Last season with the Sept of Baelor at the very end.
True.
And, that look he gave her.
Right.
So I thought that was coming into this season. That was the surprise to me that they did know it was her, and she didn't blame it on the High Garden or whatever, Lady Olenna or Tyrion for that matter.
Yeah.
To justify what happened to the Tyrells, but Jaime just accepted it, I guess, and that's where I didn't buy the Randall Tarley piece. Randall Tarley, as much of an asshole as he is, he's honorable to the bone, and he would have never followed an illegitimate queen like Cersei, knowing that she destroyed Marjorie and House Tyrell, who was the queen, and basically made her own son commit suicide.
That's a really good point.
So that's the little problem I have with that.
And there are probably unnamed Randall Tarleys.
Oh yeah,
from other places that you don't see,
right? Exactly.
Who feel the same way.
Because when he told, going back to the Randall Tarley burn scene, he calls Dany a foreign invader, an illegitimate queen. Yet he's serving an illegitimate queen, and he knows it.
Yeah, he does.
He point blank told Jaime that. I've been sworn to House High Garden my entire life, and my word means something. Apparently not.
Right.
So
good
burn.
Point. Good point. Burn, motherfucker, burn. So. We're led to believe Cersei's pregnant. She's willing to die fighting the dragons and the Dothraki.
I guess.
And basically telling Jaime, what would you rather do?
Yeah, she's got it in her head by this Maggie the Frog prophecy she lived by, and now she has a glimmer of hope because she has another child, and that throws the number of children off. So I think that makes her think she has a glimmer of hope to survive this, but otherwise she's just so paranoid that she don't actually believe that Dany would come to the table without wanting to kill her and everybody else that surrounds her. She's so paranoid about this power thing now that she has it.
But we did have the big come to the table
We did. Oh, that was a badass scene, the meeting of the Dragon Pit.
What they brought her, getting that, I thought was not well planned out.
No,
I did not like that whole trek up north
Yeah, I didn't like the plan at all.
No.
It made no sense.
There were too many smart guys in that group.
Yeah, exactly.
To be that ill-prepared.
And Jon would have known that you could just literally go up there if you needed one.
Mm-hmm.
You could go up there and find anything. Like, for example, not to say to capture the polar bear necessarily, but when they had the guy get killed, okay, there you go. There's no reason to go chase White Walkers and get in a big fight.
Right.
And get the dragon trapped, which is what it was.
Yeah.
You take your dead man back, he'll turn on the way, go ahead and chain him up, and you're good.
And it's so much easier, and you're done. Let's see. We at one point were led to believe that Gendry might die because we saw the Warhammer switch hands.
Yes.
And Gendry ends up being Marathon Man, heading back to the wall to get help.
Usain Bolt. However many miles to the wall.
He gets there, and they send the Ravens.
Yes.
And just as you said earlier, it was all a big trap.
It had to be. No doubt about it.
There's no way.
The Night King had to see it coming. We've said he's a Proto Stark. We've said he's got this green sight ability, green seer ability like Bran. That's why they're connected. That's why you can see him in visions.
Exactly.
So there's no other reason to leave them on a lake alive for 2 or 3 days.
No reason.
And that's the amount of time it had to take for all that to happen. The better way to do that, in my opinion, not to just nitpick everything, but why not have Bran involved, seeing all that happen, and he sends a raven to Dany before anybody has to run back?
I agree.
And that way, she's already on the way once the raven gets there in a however many hours it would take.
Right.
So have Bran watching them and see everything going wrong, and then him popping out of the warg mode and telling Maester Walken to, hey, send a raven to Daenerys Targaryen at Dragonstone, tell her Jon's in trouble.
Right.
Have him involved in the story a little more. He was not involved this year except for a couple of things. Now, the couple of things were key moments, but otherwise he was emo, chilling out in a wheelchair by the fire.
It was
every once in a while.
I was so let down by
every
that.
once in a while out there by the weirwood tree, warging the ravens to spy on the Night King, but have him involved. So next year we have to see more Bran. We have to find out. That's going to be one of the big twists. Anyway, we'll talk about it.
Right. And as far as that scene goes, I do have to say, you were so right though when you started complaining about why did they not use the flaming sword for heat
all damn night long, or 2 nights, however long this was.
They were freezing their ass off.
Not even any ice in their beards yet.
Oh my god!
But it's supposed to be 2 or 3 days.
You were dead on with that, man.
And then he lights it after Tormund says, "If your Lord of Light could grant us a little fire," and then he just, it's like, you didn't use that last night,
right?
And stick it between all of us.
That's so funny.
Stick in the ground. Oh.
So Dany comes to the rescue, and lo and behold, we lose a dragon. It was all a trap. Jon, again, was kind of annoying there to me. He's so perfect. You know what I mean?
That's right. He's got to be the noble, heroic, everything. He
has to be. And also, like...
but his flaw he has a small pecker. Right. That's apparently official.
I know, man.
I mean, we'll see what Dany says about that next year. But
that's funny. That says a lot about George R. R. Martin.
Tormund did say that, and they
sense
actually...
of humor.
Yeah, exactly. Tormund did say that to him when he was resurrected. He said, "I saw you pecker."
Yes,
you're not a god. So, I guess that's canon. I guess that's his flaw. Pretty hair and all.
So they lose the dragon, but then they leave Jon behind.
Right.
He gets
while I hold off these 3 whites.
Yeah, exactly.
And fall in the water.
And then we get to see Benjen rescue Jon, and now Benjen's gone.
Yeah.
So that's a little sad for me. I always liked Benjen.
Yeah, but you knew from the start he was doomed. He couldn't cross
totally
the wall.
doomed.
And why would he want to go back to the world of the living like he is? He was ready to die. That's the way I took it.
I totally understand.
He knew there was time to hop on the horse or carry him out, but he was like, okay, I'm going to let him have my horse, and I'm going to be put in my misery because I'm done here. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm in a state of, between life and death. He's the one that literally has no heartbeat and shit that still, fights for the living. Not a fire white like Beric and Jon, how people were assigned that to him.
Exactly.
Based off an interview that wasn't even... Anyway, never mind. You know what I mean. I don't want to rant, but...
But that shows a little bit of Benjen's Stark in him.
Yes.
He's like, there are other people who'd been like, screw it,
Right.
I know I got a tough situation here, but I don't want to die.
Exactly.
So they accomplish their goal, although they have some casualties, and they go have this meeting. And what happens there? He can't lie.
He's incapable of it.
He is. And Tyrion tried to scold him about it. I thought it was so
funny. And
funny.
And everybody, even
yeah.
I mean, Davos was like, I wish you wouldn't have done that.
Yeah. Danny threw up we lost one of my babies card on him, you know?
Yeah, this has to mean something. One of my dragons died. I mean, we can't leave here and it's not work, you know? So, yeah, it was that Stark honor. And he was like, yeah, go ahead and tell me I'm too much like my father. That's what got him killed. Yep, exactly. But that's Jon.
So, in that scene, though, we got to see the Cleganes face to face.
Yep, and that people think that is confirming Clegane Bowl for season 8.
Okay,
but he said that a bit cryptically. You know, like
I agree.
You know what's coming for you. You've always known, and it's like, was he talking about himself in the third person?
I know
that was a little odd. So
it was odd to me too. It didn't confirm shit for me.
I got from that what we talked about in Dragon is the fire thing.
Yep.
Whether it's him or not, we don't know.
We don't know, but
fire's coming for you.
You're being paid back by fire, brother.
Because you put me in the fire. That's what's coming for you.
That's the way I took it.
That's the way I took that. Not necessarily him, but fire related.
And we got to see the two queens face to face also, and she scolded Dany for being fashionably late. You know, Dany had to make her dramatic entrance.
Absolutely. It was a badass
It
scene.
was so freaking cool, man. I love the Drogon crawl. We've seen it twice now.
I know.
It's badass.
And this time you saw him lower his wing down and where she steps off and everything. I thought that was a badass. And when he took off, everybody should have been knocked on their ass.
Oh, yeah.
His wings covered the span of the pit.
Yeah. You just saw the little tent top flapping.
Exactly. I mean, you saw the Lannister soldiers running, but at least. But that was a badass scene. He just takes off one just to make her entrance all alone. But you knew she was going to. She had to show her power.
Hell yeah. And it kind of worked, but I do believe the White freaked Cersei out more than the Dragon did.
Yeah.
And it came straight for Cersei.
Yep.
That was pretty intense. So she says, basically, screw the deal, goes in, and Tyrion nuts up and goes in there and talks to her.
Yeah.
Jaime says goodbye, basically. He doesn't know what's going to happen on the other side of that door. I wanted Jaime to go in there with him.
I agree. He had just been kicked out, apparently, I guess, was the explanation for that.
So, here's what I need to know from you. Tyrion goes in. During the course of this conversation, he almost dies.
Yes.
And he discovers, he figures out that she's pregnant.
Yeah, she didn't drink the wine.
Right.
First clue, which is odd for her because she's an alcoholic. And then her holding her stomach. And
with the faraway look.
And her talking about with that, right, with that look, and her talking about let's take what matters, maybe Euron's right, and get on a boat and go somewhere. And then it was like, you're pregnant.
But people are saying maybe something happened off camera there.
Yeah, I don't look. I mean, here's where I stand on the thought, and part of me is also wishful thinking. Admittedly,
yeah,
I don't think Tyrion is going to betray Dany. You know, with the worried look on the boat sex scene, that's what they're talking about. That he had to make some kind of deal to make Cersei. Cersei was always going to make that deal. The whole plan here, you learned later on with Jaime's scene, and when Euron storming off, that was all planned in some way. It didn't have to go down exactly like that because they didn't know they were bringing a white.
Right.
For him to say, okay, I'm just going back to the Iron Highlands.
True.
But at some point, he was going to leave and pretend like he was out to go get the Golden Company. Mm-hmm. She was always going to betray them regardless. So she had to agree to that in order to betray them in the first place.
I see what you're saying.
So it didn't matter. So I don't think he necessarily, I think people were thinking like, I'll promise you that your son or daughter or whatever will be the heir. But he can't do that.
No,
he can't do that without discussing with Dany.
No.
So I don't buy into any deal making necessarily because she was going to do it regardless, and because she has to agree to it and then betray them in order to betray them. So
would you think that maybe say the boat scene that Tyrion was going to at least go in there? His plan was to go there and talk about what happened off camera, whether it was a betrayal or not.
Yeah,
maybe
that's certainly possible.
There is something that happened there that he's going to talk about.
That's certainly possible. That but she did come out and say there's no concessions. There's no, I agreed to it. So
but
she
I
said
think
that
there
out in the
had to
open.
be.
Yeah, so I think the producers actually said in the kind of behind the scenes after the episode thing that the look was more of a concern about, his future plans, not necessarily him betraying Dany or being worried about something, but worried about how she's going to behave now with the relationship. Because he's still looking at the big...
can't help but worry.
Yeah, I mean, he's still looking at the big picture about when the war's over, the White Walker War, the War for the Dawn, about this new world she's building. So now he's thinking, okay, she's going to make decisions that are bad for her in order to protect Jon and, that type of thing. So I think that's what that was.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense.
That does make sense. He needs her to be alive at the end of this
Exactly.
thing.
Not jealousy or he's in love with her or whatever. Just it's going to complicate things in the long term.
It does.
And it will. Absolutely.
And if, in fact, that's the case, it actually shows him being very loyal, and more loyal, and really bought into this whole plan.
Yeah, I mean, it absolutely sold me in the end of season 6 when he got Hand of the Queen promoted.
Yeah,
that he absolutely believes in her 100%. Period. I mean, that look was everything. So I don't see some big.
She validated him, man.
Tyrion betrayal. People are pointing to the books because. Quaithe warns Dany in the books about several people coming towards her, the false dragon. I'm sorry, the Mummer's dragon. Cut that out. The Mummer's dragon, a lion, the griffin, all that good stuff. And the lion represents Tyrion on his way because he's not to her in the books yet. He's just now got to Meereen.
Okay.
So people are thinking, okay, she's warning Dany about Tyrion, so therefore you can't trust him. And that's what she basically says, don't trust all these people. But that doesn't mean ultimately there's going to be some big betrayal. No, it's just like be wary. You know what I mean? So that's the way I take it.
And I think she was at first, and she felt him out.
Oh yeah,
good.
She vetted him well. Yeah.
So, before we get to that, let's talk about this new white dragon that we have in the mix.
Man, as much as I hated it. You got to admit, it's cool to see.
I agree.
I
did not want it to happen.
This was the part that was spoiled for me. I can finally say it out loud. The one piece when I was sent something on Facebook, because I don't read script leaks and all that. I do look at set photos and stuff because you have to guess still what's going on. I mean,
that's kind of fun.
You might know that two characters are meeting, but you have to know you're trying to guess the circumstances and all that stuff. But anyway, I got this Facebook message. I mentioned this in live streams plenty of times, but and was reading this before I knew it without any spoiler warning. So the Viserion had died, or would become a white dragon, an ice dragon, whatever you want to call it. And of course, the fan art. You couldn't avoid the fan art.
I know.
After that leak got out, then people started drawing the fan art, which are badass posters of like the Night King riding Viserion. So there's your big twist. And I said this before too, maybe in Dragon or in long ago. The 3 heads thing does not necessarily mean 3 riders.
No.
So nobody ever said that. I think a lot of fans just assume that, and it still could be. But there you go. There's your big twist with the rider thing, if there is even such a thing. Is your second rider is the Night King.
I know.
But if you think about what we talked about in Dragon with the symmetry, it makes sense.
It makes perfect sense if you look at it in that perspective.
Yep. So we'll see. You got a fire and ice riding a dragon, and now you can have both if you want Rhaegal to have Jon riding him or whatever.
That's what it's got to be.
It's got to be. If there's going to be another one, you got to have it. Or I'm sure people think Bran will warg something, but maybe that's Viserion, undead Viserion. So we'll see.
Now that would be kind of cool.
Yeah,
to see the battle between those two controlling.
Exactly, and that's what I was saying about season 8. We need more Bran, and what I mean by that is actually involved in the war itself, not just like warging things, like other animals helping to fight, or a dragon itself, something to be involved directly. He's got to have some kind of power up and do something.
He doesn't need to be. He doesn't just need to be the dude in Winterfell that the Oracle.
Exactly, exactly.
So we had the cool scene where the wall's coming down, and we knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, everybody knew that, I think.
But I think it exceeded my expectations the way it came down with the blue flames.
Yeah, we all guesstimated about Bran and the Mark.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, now, it makes complete sense. The dragon trap, he needed a dragon to do it. Now, the question is why now again? because there were dragons 150 years ago. He's been around for 8,000 years. He could have planned something years and years ago. Can you lay down the couch, bub? He could have planned something years and years ago, but why now? So it goes back to what we were saying in our little in-game theory is there's something that happened recently that he's reacting to, that he wants to do, that has to happen now.
It's a piece that's been missing this whole time.
And I think the piece that's been missing...
The perfect...
Exactly. The piece that's been missing, that because there were dragons up until 150 years ago, he could have used those at some point, but the piece that was missing is Jon and Dany weren't alive.
That's right.
That's the pieces that were missing.
That's what it is. There's no doubt in my mind that that's the reason they're reacting.
Yeah, and specifically Jon, because is what I mean, because there were plenty of dragon riders around. Yeah. They just didn't bother anybody then.
And Jon being the song, just like we've talked about so many times, I think we'll get to that. We'll get to that. All right, so now I guess I want to say, we're starting season 8 with now the Army of the Dead is on the march
in Westeros.
Yes.
Yep.
And Dany's coming to Winterfell.
I think so. Yep.
All right. What do you see happening in season 8? Give me some of your big predictions, or maybe at least a couple.
Yeah, I think first off we get the at Winterfell with Bran. We talked about Bran and Sam earlier. You got the Sam Bran connection, team up to tell Jon. So Jon's got to learn his true heritage.
Yes.
So that's going to be a big thing. Obviously, you can't have this story go with he never finds out. They have to have the awkward boat sex, and then him find out afterwards when she's pregnant.
Exactly.
You have to have it.
Yeah.
So that's a big one. The Night King. There's going to be what I really like is they're not. We thought about they were going to in season 7 wrap up the Cersei storyline and the politics of King's Landing and all that shit, and then focus on the War for the Dawn. But I like how they're doing this. You're going to have 3 teams.
Yep.
So you have Team Jon and Dany, you have Team Night King, and then you have Cersei down here. And I said in my predictions video on my channel of 3 or 4 or 5 days ago that it's going to essentially be a Jon sandwich, a Jon Dany sandwich, because they're coming from the north. They're going to try to battle them along the way.
That's right.
I don't think there's going to be one giant battle. We've said this many times.
We have been saying this for a while.
You're going to have these battles where they keep falling back, because they're going to lose bad for a while till they figure out this surprise. And then Cersei's going to decide, because Jaime's gone. Jaime is going to become, here's another big prediction. The White Book. The White Book gets filled up with something Jaime did to help save the fucking world, or King's Landing again.
I need that to happen.
Because they don't show that scene with Joffrey making fun of his blank pages.
I feel so bad for him about that.
So somebody's going to have to write that, and it's not going to be Jaime, and it's not going to be Cersei and her Queen's Guard.
That's right.
So Jaime's going to die. So yeah, you just don't have that scene with Joffrey, making fun of Jaime's blank pages without that being paid off.
I totally agree with that.
So, Jaime's going to go do something heroic. Obviously, he's not going to write in that book himself.
Right.
Cersei's not going to do it with her Queen's Guard, because it's got to be the Lord Commander of the Queen's Guard or King's Guard that does that. So somebody at the end of this thing is going to be writing down his heroic act. So he's got to go. Unfortunately, because I loved his arc, I do think he meets up with Jon. And ironically, they team up after him making fun of Jon in season 1 for being a Night's Watch member, and essentially that's what Jaime's going to be.
Right.
Like, really guarding him from what's beyond the wall.
Dude.
So that's going to happen.
And how cool is that?
So cool.
Before he dies, do you see a Brienne moment?
I would like to see him die in Brienne's arms or something like that. I don't think they'll ever, hook up. But he said previously that foreshadowed it, I would like to die in the arms of somebody I love, and that's not going to be Cersei.
No.
So I think that could happen with Brienne.
I totally could see that, yeah.
But we'll have shit tons of predictions before the season starts. But the big one is, as much as I've said this story is more straightforward than people think, not everybody's a secret Targaryen. Everything doesn't have to have a payoff.
Right.
Everything's not a prophecy. It's got to come true 100%. You know, all that kind of thing. It can't just end with, you know, Jon dying or Dany dying or both, and the Night King's defeated and there's little hope. You know, it can't just end like that. The big twist has to be the Night King. Yeah. What he's after, what he's coming back for now, what he really wants. We have to get that POV from some scene or revelation. There's got to be a big twist with the Night King and what that actually means in the story. Why is he coming back now?
I totally agree with that. Like you said, you can't just have the war take place, have a winner.
Exactly.
Jon and Dany's baby, you know, all this jazz. You need to know why he's reacting.
You got to know why.
And what ends up happening with him. And which we kind of got a prediction on that already. I still stick with that.
I do too.
Okay.
I still think with the Dragonfire thing we saw in episode 7 where he walked through Dragonfire.
Yes, he did.
I mean, technically, you know, it was on the ground with stuff burning, so at that point it probably cooled or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
So it's still magical, but it's still, I think the big build up with Dragonglass, about them mining all this Dragonglass, they think they can just take, you know, a shit ton of archers and take him out and cut the head off the snake. I think it bounces right off of him. Yeah. Or he can just like, because it's already there.
Yes.
It's got to be removed. So that's part of the twist, but not why he's coming back.
Nope.
And I think we guesstimated where he's going to be heading, and I think that's got to be part of the twist. It's not just where, but why.
And if you guys are interested in that, our predictions and everything, go check out on SmokeScreen a series we did called A Dragon Raised by Wolves. There's 4 parts. Potentially a 5th part on that.
I think there will be a 5th part.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We need to revisit that.
We do,
tie up a couple
and we've had a lot of calls for that already.
That's awesome.
Part 5 for the off season, or even part 5 and 6 and 7 for the off season. We'll see.
I'm totally down with that. So that's good enough for me. I guess we could talk about maybe who do you think will be our first couple deaths, big players. How do you see that?
Yeah, I think you know, Jaime. Like we just mentioned, Jaime's got to go. I think, you know, I don't think you can have people like Tormund and maybe Tormund, but, you know, obviously Beric's going to go too. He's already gone in the books. Spoiler alert. Obviously, we just had Thoros, but you got to have some people like that on the side.
My gut tells me we're finished losing Starks. I just feel that way.
I don't know. I still think there may be another Stark, but that may be Bran. The more I think about it, that may be Bran. But Arya depends on the way, if she turns around from this dark path, you know, that she's on. And they seem to a little bit when you saw her human side again.
Thank goodness.
With her and Sansa, that scene where they made up and talked about each other's, you know, so they got back to normal a little bit. So that gives me hope. I just keep thinking more and more often that with this symmetry thing, that if the Night King has to die, so does Dany. And that's your bittersweet thing with dragons gone and Dany gone, and Jon is left to raise this kid. Even Jon too. Maybe Jon's gone as well, but him being the both, you know, to continue that, because you may not see Targaryen and Stark houses continue. Except through the combination of those houses and their child.
That's right.
So they may both have to go. So I lean more towards Dany going than I do Jon, but I could see both of them going and their kid remaining, and Tyrion's raising that kid. I think some other people had said that, or maybe as well. I'm sure a lot of people think that, but you know, Tyrion or Sam, people like that. Helping this kid grow up, and they'll be the heir, and that will be the person to change things for good, as far as no more monarchy type thing.
Right.
That's what I'm starting to lean towards.
I'm down with that, because I totally, absolutely, 100% would bet a lot of money that Tyrion makes it to the end.
I think so, and I said that before on our channel, on our series.
Yes.
Sipping on Imp's Delight.
Sipping on Imp's Delight. He makes it. You know, the underdog of underdogs.
He could be the one writing in that white book for Jaime, his brother.
Sure, he could. Absolutely could.
Him or whatever the new Queen's Guard or whatever it is, or King's Guard, whoever ends up being the ruler, if there's a rule. Now, I don't think there's going to be an Iron Throne or a King's Landing necessarily, but you know what I mean. Whoever's in charge until the system starts to change.
Yes.
Writes that down.
Now, is Jaime still the main? Is he going to kill Cersei?
Yeah, I think so. What I was going to say earlier about the Jon and Dany sandwich was they keep retreating. I never forgot to finish that thought.
Right.
Yeah, they start retreating. Cersei is going to try to attack them from the back. So she's going to come from the south if the Lannister soldiers actually listen to her.
Yes.
So, and the Golden Company, for that matter, we'll see if they really fight for her.
I'm interested in the Golden Company.
Yeah, we'll see if they end up fighting for her. They switched to Aegon in the books, and Jorah was a member of that as well. We'll see if they support a Lannister over a Targaryen / Blackfire for the books, if he's even a Blackfire.
You've said that this may be the first contract they break.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. So we'll see if that happens. But you're going to have Cersei actually try to attack the living, and then she's going to end up meeting the Night King personally. I'm just saying. I don't know. Man, a lot of Night Queen theories with Cersei.
There are,
and Dany too.
There really are. Yeah,
it would make sense with Dany, but Cersei wants to be queen so bad, and she's actually going to start killing living people in the middle of this war. He may be like, so she's going to team up with him essentially.
Yeah, so that's true.
We'll see.
They're allies,
essentially. And maybe he'll recognize that or know that through his green sight, and maybe she will be queen forever, just somewhere else.
So, I guess that's about all I've got. I mean, if we're gonna potentially break out a dragon part 5, I think I'm good with my season 8 part here. I really want to do a season 7 recap. That's good for me. I don't really want to add anything right now. I like your answers. I'm going along with that. But I would like to thank you for coming on, man.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You got me started in all this craziness.
Yeah,
and,
the set looks familiar, but it's cool to be on here with Tie-Dye Guy and Tie-Dye Bear and Lava Lamp. And
it is different. And it almost felt like an interview, and I really enjoyed it going that way.
Yeah,
I was able, because that's the way we've always done this. I pretty much pick your brain anyway. And that's what I'm doing here. But I want to thank you guys for watching. If you would, I want to bring this up real quick. If you would hear me out on this, I have not forgotten the T-shirt giveaway. That's right. I do realize that the deadline passed. I didn't drop a video for you to share. So this video is your new video to share. If you would like it and share it, and give it a thumbs up and prove that you did to my email, which will be in the description, you will automatically be in a drawing to win a tie-dye. And as you can see, my daughter has been hard at work. So, there's going to be 3 lucky winners. I'm going to draw you out of a hat, and I will take care of the shipping and everything for you, no matter where you're at, as long as you do those things and then prove it to me in an email with some kind of screenshot, okay? So anyway, I've enjoyed this. I will be back on doing my book series. I have everything ready. Yes, the pace has slowed down. I'm so sorry about that.
A lot of shit going on at work.
There really is. Just tough. and I need money. I got to keep money in my pocket. So that kind of is taking over my whole life right now. But I'm getting back on track. So again, thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on Dust on the Throne.
That's right. And we will
Dust
and
Dot.
TT. But we'll see you next time, guys. Until then, Valor Tadias.